Welcome back, everyone, to the Sparks of Ingenuity podcast. I'm your host, Genevieve Noel. Thank you for joining me today. So in last episode's podcast, we were talking about kind of this wedding fantasy that I have. And I was talking about like having different spaces and turning a tiny house into like a little cabin, bridal suite. But I was just telling my husband on that same note that if this cabin thing worked out and it ended up not being too difficult or expensive or whatever, and we figured out the whole running water situation, that we could essentially do a secondary one as like a bridal suite getting ready space where the bride could get ready with her bridesmaids. We could put up mirrors, chairs, like little like countertop situation, and it'd be great because I know of ways to do this for like different inexpensive furnishings and things like that. And if you do it yourself, things are so much cheaper. But as we like are building this and I think it would be really nice in that space to also have like tables, chairs, some sort of like storage area where, you know, the bridesmaids could safely put all the items that they are like holding there over the course of the wedding day, or the bridal party, I guess I should say, because, you know, essentially like storage lockers sort of situation. I think that would be really useful and convenient for bridal parties, and it'd just be a nice amenity. So we've got these two little buildings that I think that, you know, they'd be our first real test projects to see what we could do, and, you know, hopefully inexpensive projects, but if they are expensive, you know, they're giving us a chance to really, like, price everything out and see how much time it's going to take. And then, one of the other things that we kind of wanted to do on our property is do, like, a pumpkin patch kind of situation and have a building where there could be, like, essentially a little, like, coffee shop where you could buy baked goods, any other, like, tickets and stuff were sold in there. And besides, like, the coffee shop and the baked goods and everything in there, there'd be, like, some tables and things so people could have, like, lunches and sit down with that. And we could host, like, kids' crafts or something like that in there as well. Do, like, free family crafts if you're, you know, hanging out at the pumpkin patch. And I don't know, I just think that would be really awesome and a great way, like, after these two little projects to kind of add to that and know what we can do for ourselves and be able to add a lot to this property. Now, I'm probably confusing to a lot of people. Essentially, what my husband and I are looking for is a property of 5 or more acres. Right now, the one property we're looking at has 111 acres on it, actually. So we can have multiple entrances for different business opportunities. But at least 5 acres. And what we want to do is have a pumpkin patch, as I mentioned, area, and then a small building with, like, selling tickets, baked goods, that kind of thing. And then during, like, the pumpkin patch season, you know, we'll have, like, bonfires, games, kids' crafts, all sorts of, like, fun stuff, so it's a fun family event. We are considering also eventually getting, like, blow-up bounce houses and stuff for kids to do while they're there, like included with admission or something like that. We haven't exactly decided if we want to do like an admission thing or if we'd rather do a like purchase what you're going to do and then, you know, go from there. But we'll have the pumpkin patch business and then in a separate right, but on the same property in like a separate area. We'll have the barn event center for weddings, and then we'll have the little cabin for the couple and the getting ready house area. And then obviously the event space. We'd also like to put a patio out with that so that the weddings can utilize that space as well. Eventually we would like to add like a small apple or fruit orchard to go in the pumpkin patch area, just kind of to extend that season since those are big in Minnesota. I've always loved that idea, even if it was just like a family or community thing. I think it would be very enjoyable. And then finally, we want to have like essentially a little hobby farm by where our house is on the property and make it kind of like one side's business, one side's like the home. But on the home side with this hobby farm, we want to have 3 different animals we've decided on for sure. I currently own a horse with my husband, and we would like to move him to our property. My sisters also really want a horse, so we'd allow them to kind of house that horse on our property with some extra work for them. But we'd also love to offer a boarding service for a small number of individuals. Just because I don't want to have like 30 horses that I'm trying to take care of on top of a wedding planning service and a pumpkin patch and all that jazz. But besides the horses, we would like to have goats. We kind of foresee putting these in the same barn together because goats and off-the-track thoroughbred horses are typically friends. My husband really wants fainting goats. I've always hated goats, but I can get used to the idea. So I think we will end up with fainting goats. And then, although I did tell my husband, I was like, I can handle goats, like, whatever. And he's like, nope, I want fainting goats. And I was like, fine. However, if a goat faints behind my tire and I can't get it up or drag it to move it, and I have someplace to be, I will run that sucker over. Which sounds so cruel, and I get that. But I didn't want them to begin with because I knew it was going to be very inconvenient. So I have less remorse. I will have remorse, though. I'm a remorseful person sometimes. Anyway, my aunt was like, wouldn't it just be cheaper to drag the body out of the way than, like, having a carcass? And I was like, yeah, but if I can't, run that sucker over. Anyway, no, that's only a joke, but. So, goats, horses, and then we would also really like to have chickens. I think the use of chickens on a small hobby farm are really endless. And then my aunt actually owns a free-range chicken business, so we'd make sure I would offer to be like a satellite farm for her. That way we could have a little bit of monetary, not necessarily profit from it, but just support to feed the chickens and everything, and then be able to offer a larger supply for her to a wider area of customers. Which I think would be very both useful for her and nice for other people in general. Anyway, so those are kind of the things that we're hoping to have on like the farm side. And everyone asks me, how do you intend to do this? How are you going to do it all? Well, this is kind of like my ideal day plan, and feeling it out with like not having any of these responsibilities with one kid, the biggest issue that I encounter is A, being in the city, and B, having nothing that I'm trying to do be at home. Whereas if, the hobby farm is right outside my door and I'm not in the city, so who cares if I'm wearing my pajamas and I put on some boots and go out to the barn? I mean, if I gotta do chores, we just do the chores and nobody's gonna be there to see it. That's really my biggest issue at this point. So, anyway, my plan would be start at the beginning of the year. So, nothing opens on the farm in terms of, besides, horse boarding and having our own animals. There is no wedding availability or anything like that until after Valentine's Day in February. So second half of February, we could open up for weddings, as long as, of course, we have a heating unit in the barn, which we do intend to get it fully heated and put AC in there as well. But that may be like down the line kind of thing. So until that happens, obviously we will forgo winter weddings, but nothing will be happening from January to mid-February. We'll open up for weddings in mid-February, and then our wedding season will be mid-February to Thanksgiving. As for the pumpkin patch, apple orchard, baked goods kind of situation, that will run from the end of September, so probably like the last week of September, to the week before Thanksgiving. Unless our season, it might be a little bit more flexible depending upon how the season is going, but it won't run any longer than that time frame from the last weekend of September to the week before Thanksgiving. But it might run shorter if things are going on. If it's not really a good year for pumpkins or apples or whatever, then it will be shorter, but it will be no longer than that. So we've got this break from the week before Thanksgiving to the week after Valentine's Day, where it's just, the horse barn situation and family stuff. Now, what does my day look like? Well, what I am envisioning here, obviously in the morning, get up, go do chores before my husband leaves for work, or around the same time that he's getting up and getting ready, go out and do chores. And what I think every barn runs a little bit differently, but what I think and envision for my barn based on what has been practical so far for my family. And obviously this is going to change, but it'll be, horses will be in the barn overnight, feed them in the morning, set out their feed for the evening, we'll feed them in the morning, turn all the horses out, and then if I have time, I can muck stalls. Otherwise, it'll be before the horses are let in kind of thing in the evening. After I'm done with those chores for the horses, feed the goats, feed the chickens, and let them out to roam, and head back into the house to get things started for the day. I do hope and intend to homeschool my children. So as soon as that's done, get kids up, get breakfast taken care of, and then head up to, I'm hoping to have a large bonus room that we would turn into a schoolroom and craft area. So we'd head up there, take care of school for the day as much as we can until noon, do a lunch around noon, and then complete as much school as we can in the afternoon. I'm hoping this will be time for outdoor things, PE type activities, all that good jazz. And then, of course, after all that in the afternoon, and this is during the week, probably Monday through Thursday, potentially Monday through Friday, evening chores, which would be setting up food for the next morning, cleaning out the stalls and the goat pen, checking for eggs in the chicken coop, and, giving them their dinner and everything like that would be later in the evening. Then, of course, during the week, we may schedule a few meetings to check out the barn for weddings during wedding season, etc. But for the most part, that would be a weekend kind of situation. Most people work during the week and they don't want to travel out to the barn during the week. But we would have evenings available for meetings if needed. But it would be kind of like an after 3, which is like a general school day situation. And then on weekends, we do weddings. No more than 3 weekends per month would be a wedding. Obviously, I know there's more that is involved than that, but with homeschool students, you will have kids where you have to sit down and work with them individually because they need more support, but a lot of times they are independent and on and during at least one class, and so, you can have time to yourself, at which point my plan would be to work on, weddings that are going on, etc. Whew, man, I'm just booking through what I'm talking about here. And then, of course, in the summer, no school, so we'd be able to focus more on those weddings and everything like that. And in the fall, again, school would be starting, but we would only have mostly weekend events with the pumpkin patch and everything. It's a lot of plans, but it's my dream, and it would just be amazing all over. I can't get words out, but thank you for listening to today's podcast. We will see you next time. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed.